I'm really excited for this video. Today I'm talking about 20 art lessons that I learned at 20 because recently this year I turned 20. I need chapstick. Give me a second. So let's just get straight into it because I don't like wasting your time. Number one, perfectionism is holding you back. A lot of people think that if you are a perfectionist, everything you create is going to be perfect because you hold everything to a high standard. But in reality, something I've learned is when you try to make everything perfect, you put so much pressure on yourself that it makes you not even want to draw. And it takes all the fun out of art, so rather than improving, you kind of just end up avoiding drawing altogether because it starts to feel anxiety inducing and almost like a chore. So yeah, in general, try not to be a perfectionist about things. I know that's much easier said than done. And this leads into the second lesson, which is embracing imperfection. The more you practice incorporating your mistakes into your artwork, the more comfortable you will be with drawing in general. Rather than seeing imperfections as mistakes within your artwork, you will gradually become more comfortable playing with them and using them in your art. Now, what do I mean by this? When you are drawing, and let's say, for example, when you're sketching, you can erase anything that you see as a flaw. But in this context of embracing imperfection, I mean, like, when you create a permanent line, becoming okay with accepting it and sort of working around it and working it into your art and not stressing over this one line that you would usually see as a mistake or would usually see as something that has messed up the entire artwork. Just continuing to draw and being okay with anything that you would usually feel is a mistake. That's how you embrace imperfection, and that's how you can become overall a better artist and sort of overcome that perfectionist mindset. Lesson number 3, stop overcomplicating things and setting unrealistic goals. For example, giving yourself a strict schedule to stick to for practicing, like how a lot of YouTuber artists recommend drawing every day. Recommending drawing every day, yes, that's great, but if you put too much stress on yourself to make sure that you achieve that goal and that you stick to drawing every single day, eventually you're gonna get sick of drawing, and you're on days where you don't feel like drawing at all, but you force yourself to draw. When you force yourself to do something, you're not gonna want to do it. So that's just a recipe to make yourself not like art anymore and to eventually face art block. One thing that I struggled with in terms of setting unrealistic goals was honestly more content related. I used to try to post every single day, and because of that, I think a lot of the content I was putting out, like for example, when I say post every day, I don't mean on YouTube, I mean like TikTok and Instagram. I used to put out such bad content that I wasn't proud of, and it was mostly just to try to gain traction and to try to gain views and like whatever. Obviously, I did what I had to do to start an account and start gaining followers, but now I feel a lot better about making content, and it's something that I actually enjoy because I'm making content that I find enjoyable to create, and I'm not forcing myself to make it. If I don't feel like making something, I'm not going to force myself to make it, which keeps me enjoying it, as I said. Lesson number 4, you need to take breaks. This is the same as what I was saying in the last lesson, is not forcing yourself to draw or create art or create content when you don't want to. Obviously, there are times where if you want to improve, you are going to have to push through whatever art piece you're working on. If you feel stuck at certain points, you will have to push through that in order to improve. But in general, giving yourself breaks will keep you passionate about art, and it'll help you avoid burnout, because if you're just forcing yourself to draw all the time just because you think it's going to make you a better artist, well, you're going to end up not even drawing at all if you're always forcing yourself to draw. Lesson number 5, draw what you want. A lot of artists advise you practice drawing lots of different things so you have a bigger skill set overall. But in my opinion, and from my experience, if you want to draw the same thing over and over again, you should do that, because forcing yourself to draw things that you don't want to, just because it's gonna expand your skill set or, I don't know, make you a better artist, supposedly, you're just gonna lose your passion for art. Now, hold on. There are times where you have to practice fundamentals or practice anatomy, practice composition, practice shading, practice drawing different things if you want to improve on those things. But forcing yourself constantly to try to have like an equal distribution of things that you're drawing. For example, artists that were judging, Sam does art for drawing mostly women. If he wants to draw women, then he can draw women. You know what I mean? Like, I don't see a problem with drawing one gender more than the other, or one, this might be controversial, but drawing lots of different skin colors. If you, okay, that kind of, okay. Let me just say this. Obviously, if you want to draw one skin tone or one gender, you will become an expert at drawing those, whether it's like you like drawing women, for example. You're going to become an expert at drawing women and you will lack the skills in drawing men. Same thing with skin tones. But if that's what you want to do, as long as you're not actively like, I hate men, I hate white people, I hate Asians, like saying shit like that, don't clip that because I'm not racist. Anyways, you get the point. As long as you're not actively hating, and that's why you refuse to draw certain things, I don't see a problem in focusing on drawing like a specific gender that you want to draw, or a specific animal you want to draw, or a specific object you like drawing. If that's what you enjoy drawing, and that's why you draw, and that's what makes you a unique, that's the thing, it's what makes you uniquely yourself as an artist, if that makes sense. That's your trait, that's your skill. You're the best at drawing fucking Foxy from Five Nights at Freddy's. That's your thing. I don't see an issue in that, as long as you are aware of the fact that you will be lacking skills in drawing other types of things, like the rest of the Five Nights at Freddy's characters. If you're only drawing Foxy, you're gonna probably not be as great at drawing Freddy, Chica, or Bonnie. I think you get my point on this. So I hope I worded that well, because we got a little bit controversial there. I guess I'll just finish this off by speaking from my experience. I had a phase where all I wanted to draw was Astarion from Baldur's Gate 3. And I felt a pressure to draw things other than him. But because I was trying to draw things other than him, I didn't even want to draw at all. I was like, okay, so what? Like, I don't want to draw this anime character that I don't really care about right now. I just want to draw my hyperfixation, Astarion, because that's what brings me joy at that time. So I just embraced it, and I drew him a cajillion times to get it out of my system. And because I allowed myself to draw what I wanted to, number one, I got more practice, therefore overall I improved, whereas if I was trying to draw things I didn't want to draw, I probably would have stopped drawing altogether. And number two, I am now an expert at drawing Astarion, and that is arguably a skill I don't really need as an artist, but still, it is something unique to me and something I find joy in doing. I hope that point was worded well. I really hope I didn't offend anybody, and if you were offended, I'm sorry, that was not my intention. Lesson 6, don't force yourself to do something just because it's trending or more popular. This kind of is, I guess you could relate it to the last point somewhat, but essentially embracing what you enjoy and what makes you uniquely you. For example, speaking from my experience, I tried to force myself to learn digital art and to do digital art because I thought it was more popular. But in reality, I prefer traditional art, and I realize that now. And so recently I've just been focusing on creating traditional art. I've been having a lot more fun creating art than I ever have. Obviously, it was fun to try digital art, But there were a lot of times where I was in the middle of a drawing and I just did not want to finish it at all. But with traditional art, I just feel like there's a lot more freedom of expression and making a mess, and just the process for me is easier, at least, and I can actually finish artworks much more quickly than I could with digital art. The amount of times I would sketch something on my iPad and then just leave it and never come back to it instead of, creating a finished piece, there's got to be hundreds of sketches on that iPad. I still do enjoy digital art, so I will maybe go back to it sometimes. I don't know when. I'm not going to force myself into it, but if one day I'm like, you know what, I think I want to try drawing digitally today, then I'll allow myself to do that. I don't know why I'm being so aggressive in this video. I'm getting passionate. I'm getting hyped, okay? You better be feeling the energy. Make art for yourself, right? Not for likes, not for views, etc., any of that BS, or for monetary gain as well. When you are creating art for other people, like for likes, for views, for money, it just takes all the fun out of making art, and it makes art feel like a chore. Just focus on making art that you enjoy and that makes you feel fulfilled, which is the key to avoid art block and the key to avoid losing your passion for creating art. Lesson 7, learning about lighting, composition, and perspective is more important than I realized. Now, obviously, it's important to draw what you want, as I mentioned earlier, but drawing the exact same pose or face or whatever over and over again stunts your growth as an artist, as I mentioned. So, obviously, that means you'll become an expert at drawing whatever you keep redrawing, but you're preventing yourself from learning other things as well, other perspectives, other skills as an artist. So when I finally started to look into learning about lighting and composition and the importance of, different perspective and getting less stiff looking art going on, it puts so much more emotion and movement and interest into your art. Just learning these simple things can really just drastically improve your art, is basically what I'm saying with that. Now, obviously, I'm still learning about composition and perspective, and I do need to put more effort into practicing that. I know that, but we'll get to that. Lesson 8, who cares if no one cares? You care. What I mean by this is it kind of has to do with sharing your art with others, whether it be online or with friends or family. I used to keep my art to myself because 1, I felt embarrassed to share it, and 2, I felt like no one cared, so I didn't want to force it on them. But recently, as I've started sharing my art online more throughout this past year, and subsequently with friends and family more as well, because I've become a bit more confident about my artwork, and considering I've been sharing it with thousands and thousands of people online, I think it's just become easier for me to show it to the people that I know as well. I find that it brings me joy to show my artwork to others. So why not? Of course, it is important to validate yourself and your own art, but external validation also feels nice, and I find it helps encourage me to continue drawing when I hear others react positively to my art. I guess just having that little bit of external validation helps you feel more motivated as an artist. Lesson 9, you don't need to fit into a box, aka you don't need to fit into an art style. This whole thing about art style online or in the art community, I should say, is kind of annoying. Your art style is the collection of all of the artworks that you've made and the way that you tend to draw things, but it doesn't have to be consistent in every single artwork. So here's what I want to say about this. Draw what you want. Don't hold yourself back just because you feel like it doesn't suit your usual style or medium. Try new things and draw whatever you want in whatever way you want. The reason I'm saying this is because putting yourself in a box limits the possibilities of what you can or could create. This includes, for example, if you've always wanted to try singing or dancing or playing an instrument. but you've always been a painter slash visual arts artist. Just try it. You'll regret it if you don't. You've only got so much time on this planet, not to be sentimental or cringe, but I think turning 20 also made me realize I'm like, wait, time is passing a little bit more quickly than I recall from when I was younger. So, yeah, just do whatever you want in art. Don't hold yourself back just because you think it doesn't suit your art style, or it's not your usual medium, or you don't know how your followers will respond to it, or whatever. Just do what you want. Who cares? Lesson 10: stop letting others' opinions dictate your decisions. Who has always been with you and will always be with you no matter what? It's you. So stop making decisions based on what others say. Do what you want, trust your opinion, and if you don't trust your judgment and your beliefs, you're so vulnerable to criticism and being used, being lied to, etc. And this is kind of just a piece of advice in general for everyday life, but still I thought it was important to share because that was something I struggled with a lot, was trusting myself and listening to my own opinions and trusting that they were good opinions, I guess. And one thing that's, I can speak from personal experience, which is not really art related, but I figure I'll share it anyways. In my last relationship, actually, I was kind of taken advantage of, and I started to question the way I felt about things in terms of how I was being treated, and I was like, am I crazy? Like, I was being gaslit. I swear to God, I thought I was crazy. But then now looking back, I'm like, girl, you were right to feel that way. There's a reason you felt that way. So one thing I learned from that is to always trust how you feel. Obviously, it's helpful to ask for other people's opinions and, just be like, am I crazy for thinking this way? And to talk to multiple people and get their opinions. But you are with yourself always, and your opinion is the most important, therefore. So listen to yourself, trust yourself, and in relation to art, trust your artistic opinions. Getting criticism and feedback, it's good to listen to that and take that into consideration. But always make sure that the criticism you are receiving is from someone who is a viable source, I guess. Number 11. Criticism doesn't have to be an insult. This was one I had to learn quite young. No one is perfect, and there was always room for improvement. I used to take criticism so personally. I was a perfectionist, right? So somebody telling me, hey, you could have improved this or you could have done this better, it just made me feel like, well, I put all this effort into this thing, so I must be a failure and I must suck as an artist if there's something wrong with it. Girl, no, you could have taken that advice and become a better artist. We're all always learning. We're always improving. We are all students and teachers. So if you receive criticism or feedback of any sort from a viable source, that being an artist who you like their art and you feel inspired by it, or just an artist who has a lot of experience under their belt, take it into consideration and be like, and then maybe try it in your next artwork and try to apply their advice and see if that helps you create art that you are more proud of and that you feel is better. Lesson 12. Stop wasting time caring about the things that don't matter. For example, likes on social media, harping on the fact that you haven't practiced for a week and beating yourself up over that, caring what others think of you, etc. List goes on. You are wasting that energy that could have been used for something productive. Once again, our time is limited on this planet. We could die tomorrow. We have no idea how long we're here for. It's not guaranteed that you'll live until you're old. So, you wasting your energy beating yourself up over the fact that you haven't drawn for 2 weeks or whatever, and then you feel discouraged and you continue to not draw because you feel bad about yourself. That's a waste of energy. You could have applied that energy into starting to practice again or encouraging yourself and being like, it's okay. Like, I needed that break. I needed that time off. Maybe I could try to draw for 5 minutes today and see how I feel about it. Get your priorities straight. The other thing, too, I want to mention in this point is caring what others think of you. That was something I struggled with for a really long time. And this is sort of unrelated to art. This video is kind of a mix of like life lessons and art lessons, but I spoke to a therapist recently and she made me realize something that I've always been very self-reflective and self-aware, and this is one thing that she brought to my attention that I hadn't realized was contributing to my lack of energy. But essentially she said that I have social anxiety, and the fact that I spend so much time thinking about how others are perceiving me and caring what others think of me, I'm wasting all of this energy on that, and that is leading to me feeling more depressed and having no energy for other things that actually matter. So just some fruit for thought. Lesson 13. Self-improvement and working is important, but not more so than experiencing life and spending time with loved ones. This is something I'm still working on applying in my life, especially the working part, because I have this problem where I feel like if I'm not being productive, then I'm wasting time. I'm coming to realize that, obviously, as I mentioned, our time on this planet is limited. So experiencing things and going out and doing stuff and spending time with those that you care about, because they're not here forever either, is more important than prioritizing being productive and improving your art or working on whatever the fuck it is. That's all I have to say about that. Lesson 14, you're not always going to feel like creating art, and that's okay. This applies to my second point, I think it was, about giving yourself time to take breaks. There's no need to worry about whether you're still an artist when these times come. I'm actually experiencing that right now, is this lack of, oftentimes I feel a lack of inspiration or motivation to create art, but that's fine. That's okay. I'm just going through a period where art is not as important to me right now. And that's not always going to be the case. I'm still an artist. I'm just in a period where I'm giving myself a little bit of time to take a break. So don't start to panic. Don't be hard on yourself. Just give yourself that time that you need. And eventually, art will be something exciting to you again, and you'll feel more passionate about it again. Nothing is ever completely consistent in life. You know, there's always balance, the yin and the yang, or whatever the faux. Lesson 15, don't be overly critical of yourself. This applies to the point where I talked about wasting energy on stuff that doesn't matter. If you are being overly critical of yourself, you're wasting energy on putting yourself down, which makes you feel discouraged, which makes you not even want to draw, which makes you feel bad about yourself, which makes you not practice, which makes you not improve, and it's a perpetual cycle. Don't compare yourself to other artists. Use their art as inspiration rather than putting yourself down because you feel like their art is better. The more you encourage yourself, the more motivated you'll feel to create art, because you're like, wow, I'm doing really well. I've been working really hard, yada, yada, yada. Encourage yourself, okay? I don't care what nobody says about criticizing yourself or like being hard on yourself, to push yourself to work hard and grind and whatever that bullshit. You get my point. Be kind to yourself. Coming from someone who's been mean to themselves their entire life and still struggles with that, it's a waste of energy. It doesn't help anybody. Period. Lesson 16. It's okay to copy if you do it the right way. Copying another artist's artwork is a good way to learn their techniques and incorporate them into your own artworks, as long as you don't share that art anywhere and claim it to be your own. As long as, if you are going to share it, link that artist that you copied their artwork from in whatever the post is. Make it explicitly shown that this is a copied artwork, and explain maybe why you copied their artwork and say like, hey, I liked this in their artwork, so I wanted to try to practice it myself. But overall, I just recommend don't share it, because when you're copying another artist's artwork, you're doing it just to practice whatever techniques you like in their artwork. And once you're done, obviously, okay, cool, you made this like cool art piece and whatever, but like in my mind, once I've made it, I'm shoving that shit in a drawer and I'm never looking at it ever again, because it's not a shareable piece of art. You've picked up these techniques, you've extrapolated it from creating this art, and now you can go and apply that elsewhere. Lesson 17, your worst art is still valuable. You should still share the art pieces that you personally think are bad, because there is bound to be someone out there who likes it, and it might even gain more traction on social media than your favorite pieces. The bad, quote unquote, pieces teach you just as much, if not more, than the good ones. They show your progress, highlight what needs improvement, and sometimes they contain happy accidents that lead to new creative ideas. Just don't. If you feel like you have created something that you're not as proud of, I've seen a lot of artists crumple it up and throw it away. I was guilty of that as well. I don't think that's right. I think you should keep all of your creations, even the ones that you aren't as proud of, and even share them if you feel comfortable doing that. And that external validation that you might receive on social media, or even if there are haters, whatever. But if you do receive that external validation, it might help you feel better about that art piece even, and appreciate the good things about it. Lesson 18, invest in yourself. This is something I have always struggled with, is spending money on things that I feel are unnecessary. One of them being art, especially considering how expensive certain art supplies are. But whether it be art supplies, online courses, or simply giving yourself time to draw, investing in your art and your skills will always be worth it. Even buying equipment for making better quality videos took a lot of thought and convincing for me, but it has been worth it. It has made creating videos easier, and it's made me enjoy making videos a lot more. And so that's why it's important, I think, to invest in those art supplies that will be better quality, and they'll, make you make it easier for you to make art. That's sort of what I mean. Or like sketchbooks, for example. If you need a sketchbook, get yourself a sketchbook, because that, once you have it in front of you, you're more likely to create. Lesson 19, improvement does not happen linearly. If you find yourself feeling like you're getting worse as an artist, it's all a part of the process. Don't feel discouraged. Continue drawing and practicing, and soon enough, you'll create your best piece yet. This sort of relates to the point where I talked about having a period of time where you feel less inspired to create art. I've been going through something like that recently, and it's kind of made me question, I'm like, is art still a hobby of mine? Am I still, an artist? And yes, the answer is yes. Just because I haven't drawn something for however long, well, I have been drawing. That's the thing. I have been drawing. I just haven't been drawing as often. So, and it's sort of scaring me, because I'm like, well, I feel like I'm getting kind of worse because I'm not practicing as often. But that's okay. Sometimes you just need to give yourself a break, and then, it goes up and down. The progress goes ups and downs. The progress goes up and down on the graph. So don't feel discouraged. And finally, lesson 20, your worth is not determined by your productivity. You don't need to be constantly creating to be a real, quote unquote, artist. Taking time to rest, live life, and gather new experiences is just as important as making art. Giving yourself the time for breaks is crucial to your creativity, because forcing yourself to create when you don't feel inspired will, number one, lead to you creating bad art that had none of your heart put into it, and two, art block. Yeah, don't feel bad about yourself if you're going through a period of not creating art, because that's me right now. I hope you found something in this video helpful. I really enjoyed writing my thoughts down for this video and making this video overall, so I really hope that you also enjoyed watching it. I'm not sure how long I've been talking for. I'm not sure how long this yap session has been, but I hope you've enjoyed. I hope you've learned something. Comment your thoughts if you have any advice from your own experience. I know my audience is actually older than I was expecting it to be. I think it ranges between like 17 to like, I think even I get some like 40-year-old artists out here, which I appreciate your support very much. So I think we'd all love to hear any advice anyone has to share. Subscribe to join the cult. We have a great time over here. Give the video a like if you did enjoy, or give it a dislike. But if you give it a dislike, I appreciate the feedback, but please comment about what I could have improved in this video. That's all I have to say. I'm going to stop talking now. I hope you have a great day. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.